Good afternoon, Comms Club, me again. Here I am back with March Matters video number 7. Now, today was the first Comms Club for Business session that I ran, and we were looking at the foundations and the 7 foundational principles that I always use to guide people on how to have really impactful conversations and interactions with people. And one of those founding principles is something that I refer to, I call it ask more, assume less. And the reason that I offer this to you this afternoon as a guiding principle of confident and clear communication is because it sparked quite a bit of discussion in the room this morning. And it was around how easy it is and how quickly we jump to assumptions and conclusions and make judgments about other people in the moment, and that those judgments, those assumptions and those impressions that we create, they shape the way that we respond to the person, to the question, to the situation. And if we are wrong in the judgments we make and the assumptions that we make, then our response, our piece of advice, our reply, our comment can cause more harm than good. Because without any context to a conversation, it's very easy to make up the story. In one of the previous videos, we talked about conspiracy theories being those moments that if you get little nuggets of information but you don't get the whole story, you join the dots up for yourself to make a story that makes sense. But 9 times out of 10 that story will be wrong. And likewise, it's just as easy to reach the wrong conclusion about what motivates somebody, while somebody feels a certain way, or what somebody wants, if you don't ask questions but instead just make an assumption about them or their situation. Because assumptions create confusion, and therefore what we're trying to do is get to a position of understanding, get to a point where we can see the world through someone else's eyes. So it's empathy. I talk about it a lot in the content that I share. Empathy is your ability to get so close up to somebody that you can start to see their world through their eyes, not your eyes, through their eyes. And the only way you can do that is to understand what their world looks like. And the way you understand about someone is to ask them questions. Good afternoon, Sam. So, Sam, we're talking about how to suspend our judgment and our assumptions, and how we can instead program and build a new habit to ask more questions, because the more we ask, the less we assume. And asking questions brings clarity to the way someone's world looks, and it often explains their behaviour, their question, their comment, or their intention when they communicate. And it's worth reminding ourselves that a first impression is made within the first 6 or 7 seconds. And I imagine that you would agree with me that we make assumptions, sweeping assumptions and judgments about people all the time. We, just by the way people look, we make judgments and assumptions about the way they feel. We make assumptions about things that they can afford. We make assumptions about what they want, and assumptions about why they want what it is they're asking for. If we don't challenge ourselves to ask more and assume less, then the chances are that we treat people unfairly, we can act incorrectly, and actually our response or interaction with people can have less positive impact than otherwise. So, for instance, just to give you an example, at the moment it's very topical, the secondary school choices are out. So if we don't ask questions instead of making assumptions, we will naturally, by default, because we think everyone is like us, we will assume that everyone will feel about a subject the way we feel. So the secondary school places are out. So if someone said to me, oh, the secondary school choice are out, you'll never guess what, James hasn't got his first choice of secondary school. Now, in my world, if Ethan hadn't got his first choice of secondary school, I would have been devastated, because it was his first choice, because we all agreed it would be the best choice for him. Now, if I don't ask how that person feels about James not getting his first choice of secondary school, my knee-jerk reaction and my assumption is, oh no, this is a terrible piece of news. Poor James. James is going to be upset. The family's going to be disappointed. He probably has to travel further to a school that he's got no friends at, etc., etc., etc. If I don't ask my friend how she feels about James not getting his first choice of secondary school, my reaction is likely to be, oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. You must be devastated. Oh my God, I can't believe it. How did this happen? That assumes they are unhappy about him not getting his first choice of secondary school. However, if you communicate by the founding principle of ask more, assume less, we don't default to the assumption that that is a bad outcome. And instead, if we say, wow, how do you feel about that? Then by asking that question, it gets James's family the opportunity to say to us, well, do you know what? Actually, it's a huge relief, because we weren't convinced that that would be the best choice for him. So actually, not getting in there, we're really happy about. He is a little bit disappointed, but do you know what? His second choice wasn't far behind. So actually, on balance, he's going to what we think is a better school. Everyone's happy. If we got into the habit of asking instead of assuming, we would have just suspended that judgment. And therefore, when we reply with, wow, okay, well, that's a relief. So which school is it? How's he going to get there? Who does he know that is going there? You can have a more positive and impactful conversation. And all you did was suspend your knee-jerk reaction and your assumption on how they'd feel. And you replaced that assumption with a question. And in asking an open question, you got more information on how they felt. Like, you know, if somebody had a pet that was poorly and they took them to the vet, and they came to you and they said, oh, I've just taken Tiddles to the vet, and actually, you know, they're going to give him another round of treatment, you know, and try and see if this round works. If that would be my preferred outcome for a pet of mine, I might be really celebratory. I might think, oh, that's such good news. I bet you're so relieved. You know, it would be good to see him not suffering anymore and have him back to normal. However, how do you know that the person with the poorly pet wouldn't have preferred to have ended the suffering of the animal, and actually they're frustrated that the vet is insisting on another round of treatment that they can't afford, that prolongs the suffering of the pet? You don't know, because you assumed they would feel the same as you. If they said to you, look, the vet's going to give Tiddles another round of treatment, it's another 3 months, they're not sure it's going to work, but that's what they've suggested is the best thing, just suspending your judgment to say, how do you feel about that? Or, good thing, bad thing, how are you feeling? They would then be able to say, do you know what? In some ways, as sad as it seems, I would much rather if they'd been able to put him out of his misery. We know the condition isn't treatable, it's just prolonging his pain. And then you can demonstrate empathy and relate to how they really feel about a situation, not how you think they should feel or you think they're going to feel about a situation. So communicating from the founding principle of ask more, assume less, it just encourages you to ask questions until you can provide context for what someone is sharing with you. And you keep asking open questions until you're sure that you've got a clear picture of what that person's world looks like through their eyes. And only when you feel you've reached an understanding and you've got clarity, is it the right time to share an opinion, offer a piece of advice, or share a story. If you offer advice, give an opinion, share a story too early in that process, the chances are you could be going against everything that they were hoping to hear from you, and actually you could upset, offend or disappoint them just because you rushed in and made an assumption. It's a really natural thing to do. We do it all the time. We assume that what is good and bad in our world is good and bad in everyone else's world, is attractive and unattractive, is desirable and undesirable. The fact of the matter is that's not the case. And if you wanted to train yourself to get into a new habit of asking more, assume less, all I would suggest you do is 4 things. The number 1 thing to do when someone shares a new piece of news with you, first thing to do, suspend your judgment. Engage your brain before your mouth and just suspend your knee-jerk reaction, your judgment, your assumption. The second thing to do, ask them an open question. My 2 favourite questions are, wow, how do you feel about that? Or, good thing, bad thing, how are you feeling? And then they'll share their opinion, their perspective with you. Third thing to do, keep asking open questions until you've got a clear picture of what they feel and why they feel it. And then the 4th thing to do is wait until you've got that clarity before you offer an opinion, a solution, or a piece of advice or share a story. That's all you've got to do. Suspend judgment, ask an open question, keep asking until you've got clarity, and only then reply or share a story or offer a piece of advice. I can't tell you the powerful impact that it has, even with the people that you believe you know best in the world. Depending on what's going on in their lives, you don't always know that something they used to feel 10 years ago is still how they feel. So opinions, perspectives change dependent on life experience, and sometimes just depending on what is going on in their world in the moment. So it's a great habit to get into. When someone shares something, don't instinctively reply. Train yourself to ask an open question to see how they feel about that piece of news. And then go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get real clarity around the situation, why they feel like they do. Then your reply will create connection, your advice will be well pitched, and your story can support them in whatever situation they face. So I offer you that for my Thursday musings. Ask more, assume less. Founding principle number 5 of 7 that I live my life by. I hope you find it useful. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye for now.